Hello and welcome to a video about Shulkerbox loading. Yay! That is fun. So, in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about how a Shulkerbox loader works and also show you a couple of different designs, the ones I have behind me, that you could use in different applications. Yeah, sounds fun? Okay, here we go. First of all, I'm going to try to remember to put some timestamps in the description, so you don't have to look through this whole thing if you're only interested in how to build the middle one, for example. You don't have to sit through this whole thing. So, check the description for timestamps. And 1, 2, 3, here we go. So, first of all, how does a Shulkerbox loader work? Well, it's actually just 4 steps in, I would say, any loader ever designed. So, if you understand these 4 steps and can make them work, you can design your own loader. So, this part of the video is so you can come up with your own designs. And the steps are as follows. First, we use a dispenser to place a Shulkerbox. Second step is we use something, hopper or droppers, as we're going to see later on, to load stuff into the Shulkerbox. Then we detect when the Shulkerbox is full. The way I do it is I compare the content of the Shulkerbox with signal strength of 15, which means 100% full Shulkerbox. That's the way I usually do it. And when that's completely full, it gives an output. That output fires a piston, which breaks the Shulkerbox. And last step, back to 1. We place a new one, and we just repeat. So, place, fill, detect, break. Place, fill, detect, break. That's the order of business you're going to do this in. There are different ways, especially with loading in the Shulkerbox. And I'm going to talk about single, double, triple speed. And what I mean by that is how many hopper speed inputs do you have. One hopper can transfer 2.5 items per second. So if you have one hopper, that's 2.5 items per second going into the Shulkerbox. If you have 2, you have 5 items. If you have 3, you have 7.5. If you have 4, you have 10. So yeah. That's what I'm going to talk about. If we look at a Shulkerbox and what limitations you have to a loader, we grab our Shulkerbox, boop, and as you can see, you have 6 sides to the Shulkerbox because it's a cube, like everything else in the game. And what you need is, you need a dispenser on one side. So let's dispenser. I always like to detect the Shulkerbox itself to check if it's full, like this. So I read the output of the Shulkerbox. So I will need one side to detect the Shulkerbox, the content of the Shulkerbox. We also need a piston to break the Shulkerbox. And that leaves us with 3 sides left on this. So, the way I build loaders, you can have up to 3 inputs. Those inputs can be hoppers, or they can be droppers. So, with droppers, it's theoretically possible to make a 6 hopper speed input, but I've only managed to get it to a 5 speed input so far. So, but that is very, very fast, so I don't... It's very rare that you need a quicker loader than that. But in theory, it's possible to make a 6-speed Shulkerbox loader. Shulkerbox loaders can look in different ways. Let's go over to here. Here is a very, very, very simple one. Made by my buddy Billy Blob. it detects when this is... Let's fill this up almost. Let's do that many. Do we have any shulker boxes? We have empty shulker boxes. We have our input. And it breaks and plays a new one. So this definitely works. Downside with this design is it doesn't automatically place the first shulker box. When you place in a shulker box, I want it to get dispensed automatically. In this design, you need to use a button to make that happen, but still works, and you can fit 2 hopper inputs into this. So you can make it quite fast. I will not talk very much about single speed Shulkerbox loaders because I just don't think they are very useful in many applications. This is one application where it is useful. It's when you want it one wide tileable. So you can just stack these next to each other like this. You could use a design like this, and I've used that for a witch farm, where I have a quad witch farm where you have these types of loading stations underneath each farm, and then you send full shulker boxes into a centralized storage in the middle. It's good in that application, but normally I would say always go at least double speed because you might as well. So let's look at the loaders I'm going to show off today. We have a double speed, so we have 2 hopper inputs. We have a triple speed. We have our input hoppers here, 3 hoppers, and we also have a 5 hopper speed, this monstrosity. And this works with 2 droppers and 1 hopper. So 2 droppers can transfer items in a double hopper speed. So we have 2 hopper inputs into each of the droppers, so that gives us 4, plus there was just 1 extra space available here when I designed this, so I thought let's just put another hopper in. So that makes it a 5-speed hopper Shulkerbox loader, which is very, very fast. These are all set up with having a water stream in mind when it comes to getting the items to the loader. It doesn't make sense building something like this if you just have a hopper line, because then your limitation is the hopper line feeding items through and not the loader speed itself. But if you have a water stream and you have a really fast farm, you need to be able to process a lot of items. And then something like this might come in handy. But let's start with the easy one. So if we look at the easiest one that I'm going to show off, it's double speed. It has dispenser here. We detect whether or not the shulker box is full through that block, and that sends a signal up to the piston, and it also sends a signal down here that activates the dispenser again. This design, and also the next design I'm going to show, is tileable. So you can go your next loader would be there. You will have your next loader, you will have your dispenser there, but on the other side. But yeah, you get the idea. So you can stack these together nicely. So how do you build this one? We start with our output. which is where the full Shulkerbox is going to end up. So you take this towards your Shulkerbox storage somewhere, or whatever you want to do with this. We come up 2 blocks. We go out to the side like that, so we have a block to place our dispenser against. And then we place a block in front of there, so we can remove those temporary blocks again. So we have our dispenser that will dispense the Shulkerbox. We have a block on the other side that we can take a comparator output through in order to detect when it's full. We grab our observers, and we want one observer facing down there, and we want one observer looking into that there. And then we grab a repeater, place it on top of the hopper, put it on full delay, going into a block, like so. We take a comparator, place it on top of the observer, and we want to compare with signal strength 15, so we place a redstone block next to that. Then we go into a block. We need something that creates a block update, which could be note block, it could be rail, it could be a trapdoor, it could be a regular door, it could be a bunch of different things, but I just go note blocks. We want an observer looking into the note block, block in front, and a piston. And that is the loader itself. And then we want to automatically place the first Shulkerbox in. When you get the Shulkerbox into the system, you want to automatically place it. This would work just as the super easy one I showed in the beginning. This will work just as that, but we want to automatically start it off. So come out and place a observer that's observing this way and powering this block. We put a comparator on top of that, block in front, and an update block underneath. So now when we place a Shulkerbox, it gets dispensed. Then we can, it's easier to place in our inputs when you actually have a Shulkerbox to input stuff into. So we have one hopper on this side, and we have one hopper on this side. And that is your whole loader. And the way I would set this up is I would go from here into probably, I'm trying to think here at the same time as I'm building. We could have our item filters like that. Shouldn't be a problem. And you just run your water stream on top of that. So it's fairly compact, I would say. Like so. And we can check that this actually works if I prepare a couple of Shulkerboxes. I have Shulkerboxes that are almost full of sandstone. We just place a couple in. We grab some sandstone. We need to just make an input. And we grab our sandstone. And we should see this working. Probably want to place a block on top of that note block. Unless you want to hear when this is actually filling up Shulkerboxes. There we go. So yeah, this is working. It's a very nice, simple design, and it's very, very compact as well. Let's remove the filters. And as I said, free wide tileable, so you could just stack these together as much as you want. let's move on to something a little bit more complicated. So this is a triple speed loader. So you have 3 hopper inputs into this. And because we have hoppers on both sides and from above, we need to place the piston underneath. So that makes it a little bit trickier, but still works very, very fine. So we start with our output. We need to place a slab on top of that. We put a temporary block on top of the slab. We put a rail. We take a hopper minecart. And then we break the temporary block like so. Can remove the rail as well. And then we need the piston to be halfway through this thing. The slab needs to be there in order to have the hopper minecart at the right height. So we grab a couple of blocks and we grab a sticky piston. Place it there. Grab a regular piston and a power source, like so, to push the sticky piston down. This piston also needs to have a trapdoor on top, so it gets slightly higher than 1 block high. Which makes it break the Shulkerbox once we get all that stuff in. We also, just to be sure, because the Shulkerboxes can shoot off to the sides and stuff, we want to place in hoppers, like so. May look like they are not going into the hopper minecart, but they actually are. So if we throw something in there, it gets picked up and goes to the output. So it looks like they just go into the piston, but it works, so believe me. This also needs to be a trapdoor. If you put a slab there, this will be too high, so the hopper minecart can't pick it up, but a trapdoor is perfect. And just for symmetry's sake, place trapdoors on top of the hoppers as well. It looks better, so why not? Then we want to place our dispenser in. Again, like so. We want a block to take an output from. This is pretty similar because, as I explained in the beginning, once you understand the mechanics of it, it's quite easy to come up with your own designs. We place we need to place an observer. That needs to go there. And we place our comparator on top of that. Redstone block, so we compare it to signal strength 15. Take this into a block there, so we can place a repeater going into. There, we want this repeater to be on 4 ticks. Then we need to do a little trickery here. So we take an observer and we observe the piston. We take that signal into a note block. We take an observer, observing the note block, and then we can come up 1, 2, 3, and then 1 over, like so. We also want an observer facing down there, so you observe up top. We grab a comparator and place it there, like so. And that should actually be the whole thing. So this observes, or this checks the content of the Shulkerbox. When it's full, it sends a signal that activates the piston. This observer detects when you activate the piston and send a signal through here, up to here, and activate the dispenser again. when this is empty and you put in your first Shulkerbox, this comparator will see that. So this will turn on. This observer sees that, activates the note block, and sends the signal back around. So we can try that. That Shulkerbox was full, so let's grab one that isn't full. That's probably better. Like so. Now we can put our inputs and free. Oops, like so. You also want to, when you're building this in your world, you want to make sure that you like glass off these types of areas. Just to make sure that, you know, the Shulkerboxes doesn't go outside and end up where they shouldn't be. So we do a little input here. Like so. And we should see this working. And if we go into game mode spectator, you can see that we're filling this up very, very quickly. And this will keep going until all the Shulkerboxes are gone, and then it would just stop. So that's a triple speed Shulkerbox loader. So let's have a look at the big boy, the 5-speed loader. What makes this special and what creates a bunch of different challenges is you have to, because the way I do them, I do loaders, you only have 3 available sites to actually load stuff into. And if you want more than 3 times hopper speed, you need to use droppers. And if we do a little demonstration here, we grab a Shulkerbox, place an empty Shulkerbox there, we grab a button, let's grab a button, boop, boop, and we activate the dropper. You see we load it up into the Shulkerbox. Only problem is when we don't have a Shulkerbox, you just spit out the item. So we need to make sure that there is always a Shulkerbox in front when the droppers fire. So that creates a little bit of a challenge, but nothing that can't be solved. So we start off once again with our output. We have the piston underneath, so we need to do the same thing we did with the triple speed one. We place a slab, place temporary block, rail, minecart, break the block. So we have the minecart on top of the slab. We build up a couple of blocks like so. I want to be in the redstone menu, of course. Place a sticky piston. A piston temporary. This could be a sticky piston, but it's actually easier with a regular one. So we just push down that piston. And we do the same with our hoppers going into the piston to pick up if the boxes go off to the side. And trapdoors on top. And now for the fun part. We come up 2 blocks and over to the side, like we've done on all the others. Place our dispenser and our block to read the content of the box through. In this case, we want droppers. So we want 1 dropper there. We want 1 dropper there. like so. And in order for these to be truly double speed, we need a truly double speed clock. And there are probably other designs. The one I use, and honestly the only one I know about, is this one. We have a comparator, a repeater, another comparator on subtract mode. That goes into a block, and then we have free dust and a repeater. And this will spit out items in the same speed they come in when you have a double hopper speed. So we need one of those clocks on each side. This would work with a slightly slower clock, but if you're going for full speed, you might as well have a full speed clock as well. So this works like so, and a block. And that comparator needs to be in subtract mode, and no delay on any of the repeaters. Then we need to read the content of this box. So we place a block with a comparator on, and then we place a block in front of that and another block in front of that. We have a redstone dust, another comparator like so, and this is just because I can't place anything here to read. I can't place a redstone block or anything here that gives a signal strength into this comparator. So I need to move the signal away a little bit. So if you do a comparator into a block, this will have the same signal strength as you will read from this. So you can just place a dust and then another comparator one block up. And we can place our redstone block there instead. Like so. And now we want two things to happen. On the other designs, all we want to happen is we want to break the piston, or break the Shulkerbox with the piston. And then eventually send a new one. But we also need, in this case, because we have clocks running, spitting out stuff with the droppers, we want to stop the clocks when the Shulkerbox is full. We want to stop the clock before we break the Shulkerbox. If the Shulkerbox is full, the droppers will just try to put stuff in it, but they will fail, so nothing will happen. But once we break the Shulkerbox, they would just go ham and spit stuff out everywhere. So we need to prevent that. So we have a block in front of the comparator. We go down and have a block underneath as well. We place a block there and a block there, creating a little plus sign. And then we break the plus sign by coming down and placing two more blocks like so. On these top blocks, we want repeaters on 2 ticks. On the bottom ones, we want repeaters on 4 ticks. And this will create a little pulse extender. We place a redstone dust on that block there. So the comparator will power this block, which the repeaters here can read, and it will also power this dust here, so these repeaters can read the signal coming off from that. So that dust will power this block, which the repeaters will read. Then we place block in front of that repeater and a block in front of that repeater, and we extend our redstone line with 1 block, and we do the same on each side. Like so. So that's our security circuit that makes sure that these will not fire when we are in the process of breaking the Shulkerbox. Then we come down underneath. Here in between the two 4-tick repeaters we place a sticky piston, like so. That sticky piston has an observer powering in this direction. Then we need a block, and we come out one more, so we have a block there, and we place a repeater on 2 ticks. So when this redstone dust here gets powered, it will extend the piston. When this extends, the observer will send a pulse through this repeater, which will activate the piston. You also want to, before it gets completely out of hand, everything, and it gets very cramped, you want to make sure to block off places like that. You could do the same block you're using for your redstone or everything, or you can do whatever block. Just make sure there are no holes like that, because a shulkerbox can find its way in there, and you don't want that. Next, we take an observer, observing the piston. We want some delay on this to make sure that the piston goes up and down, and the shulkerbox actually falls down here before we try to place the new one. So we want a repeater on full delay there. That then goes into a note block, like that, with an observer observing the note block, and we have an observer observing that observer. Try saying that 10 times in a row, with a block in front. This will power this trapdoor, but that doesn't matter. When at the same time you power the dispenser, you will also power this trapdoor, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't affect anything, so I'm happy with having that happening. We take our comparator out of the dispenser as usual to check if there's anything in it. And that goes into a block, our block update block, and an observer, like so. And then we need to do one last thing, and that is, because this whole thing works fine, it will keep on going, and when the shulkerbox is full, this clock will stop for enough time so we have time to place in a new shulkerbox, an empty shulkerbox, before we start up the droppers again. However, if there are no shulkerboxes here, these will just keep on going forever until everything is empty, and we don't want that. So we need to make sure that we actually have shulkerboxes to dispense. So we take this signal here from the comparator, take a repeater output out of that into a block, and we come down one like so. And then we need to come down one more block. We go over to underneath that repeater and place a block up like so. We put redstone dust. Where are you? I'm blind. There you are. We put redstone dust on top like so, and we put a redstone torch there. And that will give this timing circuit a constant power on, so nothing will happen now. Just to make sure that there is a shulkerbox here that can be dispensed when the next one is empty, or full, sorry. That means you will always have a shulkerbox in the system here, but I think that's a it's an okay thing to waste, I think. We do the same on the other side. Repeater going out into a block, and block one below. We come down one extra and we go up to there. Underneath the repeater we place our torch and our redstone line. We can remove that again. So next we want to have our inputs into the droppers. And we want one input on the side like that, and we want one input up top. We don't want to come out to the side like that because this block is powered a lot of the time when this timing circuit is running, so that actually locks the hopper. So we want to come up, and we go up 2 blocks just to make sure, and then we can snake around like so. And that will give us the input to this thing. A hopper would also be locked if you place it there. It will also be locked by this power in here. So we need to have some clearance in between. And we do the same on the other side. So we come up 3, like so. And then we come up 1, 2, over to the side and around and up. And because I don't like stuff falling into things where they don't belong, I place glass on top of these. Like so. We can do a preparation of a Shulkerbox. Let's remove a whole stack this time. We take our, like so, place in the Shulkerboxes. We have a Shulkerbox dispensed here, and then we can put in our 5th input, which is just a simple hopper. This would work like a 4-speed loader as well, if you don't put in the last hopper line, but I mean, why wouldn't you? Then we take our input like this, oops, and we can test this out. And we can see this thing working fine. Like so. If we go into spectator mode again and look inside this, you can see the speed we're actually filling this with is rather ridiculous. And we see the trapdoor firing when we dispense the new one, but that doesn't matter. So yeah, we have a 5-speed loader, we have a 3-speed loader, and we have a 2-speed loader. I hope this thing has been useful for you. And this is mainly to show you what can be done. It's not necessarily you need to do it like this. This is how I do it. And I really want people to learn how to do their own redstone contraptions, because it's so much fun making your own redstone contraptions. So yeah, I hope this gives you inspiration, or if you want to copy them totally, then go ahead. And you might think, why do you need these stupid fast hoppers or loaders and stuff? And I'm going to show you 2 applications that I've been working on. The first one is this. I've been doing on, it was a stream project I did, where it's a combined basalt and cobblestone generator. And over here I have a early version of the 5-speed loader. This is way bulkier, so please don't judge, but it works the same way. So this is a 5-speed loader. I have cobblestone in each of these 5 filters going into the same Shulkerbox. This can almost keep up with this farm. You get a little bit of overflow here, but it can almost keep up. So ideally you would probably want a 6-speed loader or something. So that's one application of it. I have also been working on, I just need to find it, over here. This is for a new project, but I built this in a different world, where I use this for a massive slime farm, so a 22 chunk slime farm. The slimes get sent into the nether and die on this magma block platform. And then I have minecarts underneath here, and they pick up the items and spread them out into what is 6 triple speed loaders. So this is actually an 18 hopper speed Shulkerbox loader. That might sound excessive, but a 22 chunk slime farm produces so much stuff that this keeps up, but it's can't go much more faster with this design, or with can't have that many more items actually coming through before this also gets too slow. But this is extremely fast. You load into 6 shulker boxes at the same time, and yeah, very useful in applications like this. If you build really fast farms, you need a really fast item collection. So yeah, hope this is have been useful and all of that. And if you haven't already, go check me out on Twitch. Link in the description. I will be streaming the new season of the Ripple Effect server. I will be streaming quite a lot from there and stuff. So if you want to see that, follow me on Twitch. If you don't want to see that, thank you for watching, and like button and subscribe and yeah, comment and all of that. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!